Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do, and it is Friday Peace Talks. Welcome, everybody. Oh, we made it. Made it through another week. Oh boy. And what a week that was. The former president of the United States has been indicted. Good Lord. There we are. Has been indicted. This is the first time it has ever happened in U.S. history. Not the first time, in my humble opinion, it has ever been deserved, but we'll take it. At least it is justice, even if it is justice delayed. Got a bunch of clips, actually, that I'm thinking we should look at, including one from MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, talking about what she believes will happen if Donald Trump does not knock off his normal behavior surrounding this indictment. Thinking of maybe looking at some Bo as well, and we have a new way to share links because, as we learned in last week's stream, it's not entirely feasible to do that over YouTube chat. And the filters that pull out links, I cannot turn off. But what we can do is use this right here. Just put a link in the chat, and I am pinning it. Well, there we go. That's a link to a spreadsheet. Rustbox, good day to you as well. If you have a link that you think we should look at on this channel, on Friday Peace Talks, the general idea is that all are welcome, and we share links, we look at what everybody wants to look at, and we have an honest conversation about it. There are some rules on Fridays, though. Number one is welcome new people. Number two is essentially don't be mean. Don't insult people. Number three is to... Oh, I hope we're still live. Okay, we are. Number three is to hear out arguments from opposing viewpoints rather than cut them off. And number four is that when your old pal Jake breaks the rules, tell me about it. Make sure I know and keep me honest, just like I will do the same for you. Let's dive into some of these clips, though. I was hoping to play this yesterday. It just didn't work out in the show. Let's see what Rachel Maddow had to say regarding this indictment.
Joining us now is David Rohde. He's executive editor for news at TheNewYorker.com. He's the author of the book In Deep, which details the lengths that Bill Barr went to protect Donald Trump at the U.S. Justice Department, which ultimately, in some ways, is what got us here today. David, it's nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Do you think it is fair to see this indictment today as the sort of fruit that was grown on the tree that was Bill Barr? When Bill Barr came in, basically to try to protect Trump at the U.S. Justice Department, did that effectively set in motion the chain of events and the timeline that led to this indictment today?
It did, and it's partly this, crazy theory that, sitting presidents cannot be indicted. This Office of Legal Counsel opinion in the Justice Department that came up so many times in the Mueller investigation, it came up again in the Cohen case, and if we had a more functional Congress, that would be, I think, a reform that would maybe help our democracy. That, presidents, aren't immune from prosecution or investigation in all forms by the Justice Department while they're in office.
Okay. I almost don't know how to react to this. I've been on this channel basically the whole time. One of our chief complaints has been, or at least the complaint of mine that I put out there, and a lot of the Wicked audience seems to agree. It's been that this Office of Legal Counsel opinion is no good. Bad opinion. And we should not compromise one of the main checks to the president's power based on the opinion of, I'm going to be real with you, a bunch of lackeys from the 60s. 70s, I guess. Yeah, it would be the 70s. A bunch of henchmen from the 70s. It's bad opinion. What I was not prepared for was for this to become a mainstream talking point. I saw it on MSNBC 4 or 5 times in some of the clips that we're going to play tonight. My mind is blown. Actual, tangible, useful change being advocated for on cable television? Hachi machi. Awesome. I mean, I'll take it. But very, very wild to me to actually see this happening. This would be like if we saw, I don't know, Anderson Cooper be like, but would there be value to universal health care? If the COVID shots were free and that decreased that increased the health of the nation overall, shouldn't we, like, it would just blow my mind to see that. And equally so, here we have this. I guess I should let the man keep going because he is on a roll.
But now we are here today.
But I am going to stop it again.
Was Trump?
I'm stealing JFJ Live's joke from yesterday. I am drinking adult beverages again, but it's coffee. Y'all. It was a rough morning.
Clearly in the court papers when Cohen pled guilty, Trump was individual one. Can Alvin Bragg convince a Manhattan jury that that was true beyond a reasonable doubt? And you mentioned the threats, and we can talk about that more, but that is the concern here. A critical player in this trial is going to be the judge. And how do you give Donald Trump a fair trial? I completely agreed with what was said earlier by Andrew. Let's calm down. Let's let the system work. If Donald Trump is acquitted, that's fine. That's the way our system works. But I'm very concerned about how can a judge make this a fair trial without making it a crazy trial where jurors feel intimidated.
Well, David, I know you spoke with prosecutors who have handled cases against Trump allies, particularly Trump allies who are sort of cut from the same cloth as he is, like people like Roger Stone. What did they tell you? What do you think we can extrapolate from those earlier cases in terms of how this one might go?
So when Trump is arraigned, he will be released on bail, and that's normal. That's for any nonviolent crime. But there's a series of conditions he then agrees to with the judge so that he can be out on bail and so he can participate in the trial. He's got to obey what the judge tells him. And what happened in the Roger Stone trial, this is the sort of famous dirty trickster and Trump ally back to the Richard Nixon era. At one point during Roger Stone's trial, he posted a picture of the judge in his case, and there was a crosshairs, like a target, beside her face. She then, and it's her right as a judge, and judges can do this with the defendant, she issued a partial gag order that barred Roger Stone from posting anything online regarding that trial. You can imagine what would happen if Donald Trump, if a judge in the upcoming trial were to limit his ability to speak online. And the most extreme step that a judge could take, and this is the issue here, if he is intimidating jurors with threats of violence, they can revoke his bail. So that's...
First of all, MSNBC is stealing Sam Cedar's set design ideas, clearly. Look at that background. Second, MAGA folks, doesn't this embarrass you, like, a little bit? That you have people on your side resorting to these tactics? Do you actually not have any respect for the law? The courtroom? I think you do, probably, right? I feel like you gotta. So what's up? Why don't I hear about Roger Stone being condemned by y'all? What about Trump? What was that with Alvin Bragg posting the baseball bat picture. I know what the excuse is. The excuse is he was just sharing. He was just sharing, and he says he didn't see what was in the picture. Of course he did. Of course he saw what was in the picture. Either the guy's too dumb for your support because he posted a picture, and he's done this multiple times, that accidentally looks like he was suggesting violence be done against someone investigating him. Or he was intentionally doing that. So is he too dumb or is he too evil? I know. It's harsh. I'm being harsh intentionally. Those are my honest feelings. Is either dumb to constantly, and it's also mighty coincidental. I'm going way out on a limb here. Constantly share posts that hint at QAnon, posts that are branded with QAnon, posts that threaten officials investigating him, or it's evil. Either way, I feel it should disqualify him from having your support. And if you do still support him, tell me why. Explain why you're okay. How it is you get past the fact that he's done that when it comes to supporting him.
That's why the judge is such a critical player in this. Frankly, it's in Donald Trump's interest to stay calm and to act, calmly and sanely and say, I'm not afraid of this trial. I trust this system. I trust jurors. But he certainly doesn't have a history of that.
Yeah, he does not have a history of that. That is fully accurate. Get rid of that. Oh, good God. Again with this. Killing me. I'll tell you, one day I will have a producer. I swear to you. Someone to run the thing. Or I'll produce, and we'll get a handsome Joe up here to read the news. Either way, we're going to use teamwork to make the dream work. Ooh, did I have this? So it's Friday Peace Talks. We're keeping it casual. We're talking, of course, about the biggest, the biggest news of the year so far. Good Lord, possibly not of the decade, but certainly of the year. It's the indictment of a U.S. president. Never happened before.
There's Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who was on television
last night. The author of the book In Deep, which details the lengths that Bill
Hold
Barr
up.
went to protect Donald Trump at the U.S. Justice Department, which ultimately, in some ways, is what got us here today. David, it's nice to see you. Thank you for...
Oh, my gosh. I swear to you, I will hire a guy for this. What I'm trying to pull up is the follow-up, not why Trump could end up in prison, but let's read it. And I stress, this is a much more casual stream. What Trump is doing following the indictment, he's fundraising, folks. That's what I want to talk about. The man is fundraising. And I think we should understand that he has always done this. He has used, in my opinion, he's used the White House, the presidency, as nothing but a grift from the get. And it's very odd that that
Senator
is
Lindsey Graham
either
of South
not
Carolina.
obvious to people or they're okay with it. But if you don't believe me, that he's grifting, here is my evidence for why that is.
Carolina, who was on television last night begging people for money.
They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box. To the conservatives out there.
Let's play this again from the jump.
There's Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who was on television last night begging people for money.
They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box. To the conservatives out there, make sure you vote. If you got friends, make sure they vote. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends. But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump. They're trying to drain him dry. He spent more money on lawyers than most people spend on campaigns. They're trying to bleed him dry. DonaldJTrump.com. Go tonight. Give the president some money to fight this.
Joe, I was going to say Lindsey Graham was dispatched to do that, but they don't even have to get the order anymore. They know their job is to run out on TV.
Guy shows up on television, says, go to DonaldJTrump.com, give him some money. Wasn't the whole pitch for this punk nope, no insults, sorry, that is a rule of Peace Talks, my bad. Wasn't the pitch for this guy that he's a billionaire? He doesn't need your money. He doesn't need donors' money. He's a billionaire. Ha ha. Why do you have to give him money to defend himself in court? Doesn't make sense to me. We have seen him do shady stuff with this money. We saw Steve Bannon steal money for the wall. This crowd is a shady group of folks. He's fundraising off this. He immediately started. Let's let Joe and the crew go after it. And I'll tell you, Joe's working on earning himself a nickname this time around. It's something to see.
And to raise money. We go back to this again, Joe. Donald Trump so constantly hustles his supporters for money. Is he a billionaire or is he not? The legal fee should be a rounding error in his checking account, but he's constantly hustling his own supporters for money to pay his legal bills.
And again,
Willie. Yeah, is he a billionaire or is he not? Did he lie and then grift? Or did he not lie about being a billionaire and then grift just for the hell of it? Again, the way it looks to me, it's just measuring how evil he is. But none of it is anything less than what should disqualify him from having your support. So if you support the guy, please explain how you get past this in your heart. Tell me about that.
and he's always
And if you have a clip that you feel is favorable to this cat, then certainly let's play it.
lying to his supporters to get them to give him money for something else, and then he spends it on his legal fees. But I gotta say, looking at that was Rev. You know, I always talk about the Jim and Tammy Faye Baker approach to politics, scamming people like my grandmother out of their Social Security checks, $25 here, $50 there. I'm going to say that Lindsey Graham moment, he's tearing up. Lindsey knows what a bad man Donald Trump is. Lindsey's the one who said that if we make him our nominee, he will destroy the Republican Party, and we deserve it. But Lindsey almost crying there. Almost, yes, please give. That reminded me of Oral Roberts climbing up into his tower back in the 80s saying, give me $3 million or I'm not coming down from this tower. I mean,
he did. He said he was going to lose his life. He said he was going to die. Yeah.
Give me $3 million or I'm going to die up here in this tower. But the thing is, just like Kevin McCarthy knows what a bad man Donald Trump is. He says it privately to anybody who will listen. Then he goes out and he's willing to throw America's judicial system under the bus. And Lindsey Graham there crying like Oral Roberts on top of his tower going, give us more money. I mean, how much money has Donald Trump raised off of the big lie? How much money has he raised for legal fees?
I'll be real with you. Who the hell is Oral Roberts? I don't know that at all. I have no idea what they're referring to. Do you guys know? Oral Roberts climbing into his tower. I missed that one, apparently. In the 80s, I was much more interested in not soiling myself and enjoying milk. Those were my two priorities. So I don't recall who Oral Roberts was.
Already.
No.
I'll tell you, I think for the rest of this, we are going to use just the good old browser viewing. It's way easier to keep an eye on the various things with that. Christ. Well, again, if you've got suggestions, drop them in the link provided. We looked at a couple of clips from MSNBC. I feel like we should shake it up a little bit. Do something just a tick different. Here's the GED section. G.L. Hughley. Did I say G.L. Hughley? Good Lord. D.L. Hughley. I'm going to try interact. Ooh. I'm going to put this up with our browser viewing. Give me a second to set this up. All right. Okay. Let's check out the GED section. If you guys aren't familiar, that is D.L. Hughley's show. The comedian. He's got a drive time radio show. Oh boy. Hey, all right. He's got a drive time radio show that he also posts on YouTube. Here it is.
Biggie Juicy, I have realized that almost every single freedom that we enjoy have been fought for over the protests of angry, red-faced white folks. Everything
no argument
that we enjoy now has been over the protest of angry, red-faced white people. People who were certain that their freedoms were being infringed on, or that it would change their lives, or why do we want to do this? Everything, and I mean everything, from actually being free, to reading, to where we could live, to where we could, how many of us could gather, to where we could worship, to where we could use the bathroom. Like literally, what is going on? What is so sacred about bathrooms that that's one of the first things they write laws about to protect? If it isn't black
weird.
people now, it's
yeah.
What's going on in the bathroom that is so important that they feel the need to immediately converge on the bathroom? But literally every freedom we now enjoy, somebody was angry about it, from the most innocuous to the most grand. Everyone. If you wear your hair too long, you're militant. If you wear your hair too short, there's something wrong. If you wear your hair in braids, who wants to live to tell somebody how to wear their hair, or where they can live, and if they can vote, or if they can live next to somebody, or where they can work, or where they can go to school, or how much they can learn, or who they can learn about? Every single freedom we enjoy has been over the protests of angry, red-faced white dudes. Every time. What we can do literally with our bodies. If we're too loud, we're uppity. If we're too quiet, we're planning something. Everything. Who wants to control all of those things? Where we can travel, when we can't. Where we can, all of those things. Who can vote for? What times we can vote? Where the places that we can vote are? What can happen while we're waiting to vote? These people do these things while extolling the virtues of freedom.
So here's what bums me out. He's correct. The angry, red-faced white dude, as he describes it. What concerns me is that I'm not sure that that is the con man, but rather the conned. I mean, that's my thought, is that it is the person who got conned is the angry, red-faced white dude. And the color, to reference Murdoch here, that concerns me is green. People that have too much of it. Riling up those angry, red-faced white dudes in order to make us fight each other. It's white dude versus, white dudes that give a damn about other people, in my opinion, and everybody else. But it can't be denied. I mean, come on. Can't be denied. That's the group. Those are the people that fall for the grift. I think those are the people that were targeted for the grift because it was the biggest political faction early on. Back when only white dudes could vote, of course, that's what everybody was going for because that's where power was. And as other people's power expanded and things evened out a little bit, became the focus of one political party to just keep doubling down on the lies that appealed to angry, red-faced white dudes. And unfortunately, I mean, the lies that have been used to get their vote and to get them to do terrorist activities and to get them to do this and that, the lies have become, since they've been around for a couple of 100 years now, a whole culture. A whole culture of basically just being an asshole has built up. What do I mean? I mean thinking it's okay to show up with a gun to a protest. If you think that is okay, you're an asshole. Great news is you can immediately not be one. And I know, no insults. I apologize. I'm trying to make a point. There are people for whom they wouldn't even consider that, whether or not it is wrong to bring a gun to a protest. Here's why it's wrong. Unless you are specifically protesting for your Second Amendment or against regarding the topic of guns, then to bring a gun to a protest suggests that you will use violence to get your way. That is terrorism. The threat of violence to achieve a political goal. That's terrorism. Specifically, if it's not directly related to the target. That's what makes it terrorism. But, I mean, in its spirit, it's the same thing. It's coercion. You're trying to get your way through despicable means. If you're showing up with a gun to a protest, you're saying that you will use less than peaceful means or other means beyond peaceful means. It's wrong. There's a whole culture of people that think it's fine. There's a whole culture of people in the USA who believe that it's okay to decide between which groups of people survive. There's a whole culture of people that think that the way things ought to be is that some classes, some demographics get hit first with the worst of anything in America, with the worst of American life. If it's poverty, if it's crime, if it's drug addiction, life expectancy. They think it's natural in their shitty culture that people other than their demographic should get hit first regularly. Now, I understand there's got to be somebody first in every one of those things. There's got to be somebody that's got it worst. That's just how life works. My problem is when it's the same group over and over and over and over again. And I think that if that culture that was invented, frankly, by dishonest politicians, if that culture and the members of it thought about it for just 2 minutes, they would also not be okay with that. What are we going to do about it, folks? I'll tell you, over the last month or so, in fact, the invention of Friday Peace Talks, to try to, at the very least, come to an understanding with that culture, at least agree upon what reality is. And I'm asking you, you got the guts to listen to this. I'm asking you to respond to D.L. Hughley here, because he makes the point, a little harsh, but he makes the point that I'd like you to see. And that is what Peace Talks is all about. This piece by D.L. Hughley, we're going to keep going.
They want to tell you, like even the place that yell freedom the loudest, try getting a drink on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Try smoking weed. Try really exercising any freedom other than God or church. I mean, God or guns. And speaking of freedom, you only have the real freedom to worship the God they say is okay. Try not believing God or believing in a God that's different from theirs.
True. Here's a fun thing. When I was young, and eventually I realized this was not cool to do for various ethical reasons. But hey, I didn't really think about it. When I was young, I lived in a very Christian community, and it was just exhausting to stick up for my rights. I felt a moral obligation to, because if I was tired, I knew that there would be some other kid, if not in that very classroom or wherever place that I was, cool kid party, Dungeons and Dragons group, that was also tired. But it got exhausting to constantly be like, I don't actually believe in God, and I'm going to insist that you respect that, or yada, yada, yada. Or if people wanted me to say grace or whatever. It wasn't an insult. In fact, to be invited to say grace is flattering. It's kind. It's nice. It's an honor. But I don't know how to say grace, or I certainly didn't then, because it wasn't part of my life. I was a young, non-spiritual kid, or non-religious. Yet I would find myself saying I was Jewish, because the Christians of my area understood that there was something wrong with being bigoted against somebody's religious beliefs. Or rather, I'm going to take out the word bigoted, because that's very charged here, and I don't think that's really what we're talking about. Being disrespectful of somebody's religious beliefs, if it was a different religion that the person believed in. In other words, they understood that if there was if they had a Muslim kid in their class, they couldn't be like, your God isn't real, my God is the real God. Even if that's what they felt, they knew it wasn't cool to say it. Basic manners. Just like, because they would know that the Muslim kid thought the same thing, but they had to get along somehow, and that's how they did it. But the thing is, if you say, I don't believe in any God at all, then they feel like, whoa, great. This is the kind of person my pastor told me it's my duty to harass. This is the kind of person my pastor told me that I specifically shouldn't respect their religious beliefs. And I don't have to worry about respecting anything, because they don't have religious beliefs. So now the whole afternoon is going to be talking about the things I believe. And if you want to know why there's like a run-on joke amongst atheists that we tend to read the Bible way more than people who follow the Bible as like a guide for life. It's from stuff like that. Because you will not have your religious beliefs respected if your belief is that there is no God. Even though it's every bit as deserving of respect. And so you read up so you know what you're talking about when you are inevitably asked to explain yourself. And again, D.L. Hughley nails it. I'm telling you, I have had a D.L. Hughley revival since I last watched him in the early 2000s. Love it because he's right. These people that say they are for freedom of religion are actually staunchly against it. Staunchly against it. They are not for freedom of religion. They are for a state religion, generally speaking. If not outright, then with a rule set that makes one religion acceptable. Case in point, if you want to see it demonstrated, look at the Satan Club that got started in a school that recently, I think, allowed a Christian club to be sponsored by the school. The very parents that were out protesting to allow there to be a Christian club in the school were out protesting against the Satan Club because they don't care about freedom of religion. They care about promoting their religion. And I find, and if you disagree, tell me why. Say your piece. But they don't care, in my opinion, about the things that they say they do. They're lying, in other words. And if you have to lie to make your case, my argument to you is that not a good case, and you know it. And if you know it's not a good case, why are you behind it? Why do you support it? Not the religion. The political views the followers of this religion are asking you to take. There's plenty of things other atheists say that I don't feel obligated to be on board with. And in fact, there are plenty of Christians that disagree with each other. And this meshing of politics and religion, this is a new thing. And you got to kill that because otherwise you're going to wind up with Pope Trump. That ain't good for anybody.
Every single freedom we have has been over the protest of angry, red-faced white people. And they're angry about everything. Who's angry about learning history? Who's angry about the way you wear your hair? You can't get angry about the way you celebrate. Why is he celebrating like that after a touchdown? Every single aspect of our lives, every single freedom we enjoy has been over the behest of angry, red-faced white people.
Over the protest is what he meant to say. Let's read some comments while we're pausing it. Yeah, it's Friday Peace Talks, doing a little different, having a lot of fun. Somebody take a whack at sharing that sheet, sharing a link in that sheet. I have no idea if it'll work, but I've pinned a comment in the section here, in the chat. That's what it's called. Full disclosure, your old pal Jake drank quite a lot on the last stream, and it was fun. But oh my God, my liver doesn't remember how much we used to drink and wasn't ready for it. That's like a boxer who's retired who's surprised to find he doesn't have the pepper anymore. Anyway, take a whack at using that link. It's to a Google Sheets, a public Google Sheets, so that you can edit it. Let's make sure that's true. General access. God damn. Okay. Theoretic. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Just now, anybody who has the link can edit this document, not just view it, but can edit it. That means, in theory, you can share a link in that sheet. Take a whack at it. Let me know if it works. Foxy Dragon says, I'm late. Foxy, you're never late. You are always just in time. It's good to see you, my friend. Catherine Wolf says Foxy Dragon says, isn't it an insult if it's true? Ha. Fair enough. Catherine Wolf says, damn, I'll catch up. No worries. Rex Trek says, religion made me an atheist. And Andrew Woznicki says, same here, Rex Trek. Yeah, I was undecided about religion until I went to Catholic school. And then I was like, oh, I'm for sure an atheist. Yeah. It's a hell of a phenomenon, man. All right, let's let my man D.L. Hughley finish up. By the way, he looks way cooler as an old man than he ever did as a young man. It's got to be said.
About the most innocuous things. Where you can live, what you can drive, when you can drive, how you can drive.
Yep.
Where you can shop. How long you can be there. Where you can buy a house. What that house is going to be worth. All of it, every single aspect, has been over the protest of angry white people. Where you can go to school, where your children can go to school, what buses you can ride, what routes.
The one thing that concerns me is that he has yet to clarify where it comes from, what the source of this is. He's suggesting, and this is where we disagree, and I'm not even sure it's the point that he's trying to make, but if he's trying to make a different point, he's doing it badly enough that this needs to be addressed. He is suggesting that the angry, red-faced white people are the source of that. Yes, they are the soldiers, so to speak. I mean, he's right about them being the ones that are doing this. Yes, they are the hands that are covered in blood. But what sent those hands out? That's more important. Because if we managed to somehow nullify the angry, red-faced white people from the conversation, if those people all of a sudden said, you know what, never mind, we've been invited to Canada, we've been talking a little bit behind your back, and we're moving to Canada. I'm sorry, but we're just not happy with you anymore. And then all whites go to Canada. The problem won't go away. Angry, red-faced white people will be replaced by the next most gullible group that will fill that role. And I'd like to hear him address who's sending those folks out. Why is it you have religious leaders, for example, riling people up with racist rhetoric? Why is it you have far-right politicians doing the same thing? When those bathrooms were at odds, who started saying that black people need to have different bathrooms? Or nowadays, trans people aren't allowed to be in our bathrooms. They're going to touch our kids. Who starts saying that? I want to hear him address that. I'll tell you who it is from my perspective. It's the wealthy. It's wealthy people who need voters distracted and more than anything, fighting each other, at odds with each other, over nonsense issues that they make a huge deal about, so that, number one, we don't have the energy to learn about or be active against their unjust acquisition of wealth. It's what makes your boss a billionaire instead of a millionaire. And number two, that doesn't even matter. That's really just it. Those are the people. I mean, if you take away that, 99% of our problems go away. Your old pal Jake can retire. Let's do that. Keep it simple, for God's sake. I would like to hear D.L. Hughley discuss that, and I hope that he is not falling for the idea that these poisonous ideologies originate with the person who's carrying them out, because if that's what he's saying, then he has missed a crucial part of the conversation, which means that we're going to be doomed to have this fight for another 100 years, because we've been having this argument since 1863.
They can have
before that, even frankly.
How much insurance you can have, what you can buy, all of it, and all by people who always extol the virtues of freedom, and they have these proud stories. My great grandfather fought so you could have this freedom that I now am taking from you.
Yeah.
Freedom is not an innocuous thing. Either you have it or you do not. And it's a ridiculous notion to believe that some people have the power to give you a freedom that was already yours anyway. Every single thing that we enjoy now has been over the protests of angry, red-faced white people. All of the time, everything, the most innocuous thing. This is the thing that's funny. If freedom is the gift that you say you is, why don't you give it more freely? If freedom is the gift that you are willing to die for and kill for and write documents about and extol the virtues of, why are you so reticent to let anyone else have it? If freedom is so great, let someone else actually enjoy it. Let somebody else always enjoy the virtues of freedom that you extol so much.
Brother Hughley, hell yes. Oofa doofa, we're going to, 1 second here. We're going to just switch her back to a reasonable setup. Christ, let's jump over. First of all, we need a word that is not as loaded as comrade. We need a more Americanized word than that. I kind of like brother, but I don't want to steal it from the brothers. Let's think about that. You guys have a word that works for that? I kind of like brother, but then also, I don't know. Brother, sister, it's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm so on that D.L. Hughley clip. Normally, I feel like he knocks it out of the park, and I feel like, it wasn't a walk-off home run, but it was a home run. He almost had it, but then he failed to address the source, which is unfortunate. But there's still value in what he was saying. I mean, the value I see in D.L. Hughley right there, busting it out like that, and just saying, look, there is a demographic that is constantly at the source of America's woes, causing problems. He didn't even mention a lot that he could have. For example, the pro-Hitler movement in the 1930s. Again, angry, red-faced white dudes. The anti-labor movement. Angry, red-faced white dudes. Interestingly enough, the pro-labor movement in the 20s was also angry, red-faced white dudes with everybody else. That was like an equal split, but nonetheless, they're at the source of these problems time and time again. It's good. There is value in him saying, God damn it, get a hold of yourselves. Calling, if you generally fall into that category, God damn it, get a hold of yourselves. Acknowledge that this is a problem. But what my critique for D.L. Hughley there would be go deeper. Where do the marching orders come from? Because I tell you, what does Fredo on TV say? All right, I'm gonna do a little Fredo on TV. I guarantee it. I stand by it. If the angry red-faced white dude retires from politics, they will be replaced immediately by the angry red-faced Asian dude or whatever the hell can be tricked into filling that role. And if you think you're immune from it, This is a new soapbox I'm pulling out because it's gonna be important. Because get ready for multiracial fascism. It's coming. I promise you. There's gonna be a rainbow alliance of the worst human beings. If you think you're immune from it because you're not white, first of all, congratulations. You just did a racism. It happens to me all the time. It happens to everybody a lot, and it tends to get noticed more when white people do it. Rightly so, because, we really leaned into it. Ooh, boy. But if you think you're immune from it because of your race, congratulations, you did a racism, and you're not. Look at, what was it? Who was it? Spice? No, not Sugar and Spice. Who were those two ladies? The black ladies that were like massive supporters of Donald Trump. Damn it, I don't remember who they were. They were a great act too. But yeah, no, you're not. You're not. It's there are black Trump supporters. There are always Candace Owens, for example. There are always people on your supposed team, people that look like you, that will energetically work against what you view as your interests. Not immune to it. Nobody is. There's just an existing infrastructure for racist, angry red-faced white dudes to be made into racists if necessary. They'll do the same thing with any group of people. So we got to nip that in the bud. And it is, frankly, just rich. I'll tell you what. I'm going to unmask this Scooby-Doo villain, and it's going to bum you out because it's going to be the same unmasking every time. It's rich people trying to get poor people to fight each other. That's it. They happen to find, for whatever reason, and we all need to search our souls for why this works. But they happen to find that racial issues work really well for riling us up. So do anything having to do with sex. We get uncomfortable. We don't know how to deal with it. If somebody has a difference in that way, really easy to convince people that they're also dangerous. But look, understand, it's rich people trying to get everybody else, trying to get normal people to fight each other. That's all it ever is. Every mother time. That is what it is. It's like 6 degrees of separation. You don't always need the full 6, but you never need more than 6. That's what it is. What is it this time under that KKK hood? Angry red-faced white dude. But if you rip off that, look in the brain matter there, the ideas came from rich people trying to get everybody else to fight each other. That's it. And it sucks. If you are MAGA, if you have a different opinion, if you are traditional Republican, and I presume you every Sunday pray to a giant pile of money, that was a gag. But if you disagree, tell me, and I'll be fascinated to see. Oh, Patrick, my man. Okay, we're gonna do one here. Please tell me this. Yes! Okay, so I saw. I guarantee you that was Patrick Thibodeau. Let me jump into the chat again. Yes, it was. All right. So delighted to report that the link sharing system we have set up works. Patrick Thibodeau, you, sir, are the pioneer of it. I'm going to figure out a title to give you. We're going to read some comments, but I do want to tease the section we're about to do. I saw earlier today that Mehdi Hassan was on the Majority Report, and unfortunately, I was well hungover. So I didn't see it, but I've been champing at the bit to look at it, and I'm so glad that you found the clip and put it in here, Patrick Thibodeau. Hell yeah. Let's read some comments from that last section. The buckle of the Bible belt. Ooh, that's a good way to put it, Patrick. Mars Falcon says Oklahoma is okay. I read it on an official state document on the bumper of a pickup trucks. I know it's true. Catherine Wolf says, okay, never mind. That was in reference to something else. Yes, thank you guys. Foxy and Mars Falcon worked together and remembered their name. It's Diamond and Silk. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, there will absolutely, as long as that source is there, which is rich people with an undue amount of power, looking to keep it or expand it, that we will always magically have opposition to decency. Forever. We have to curb the power of the rich. Doesn't mean we can't have rich people. In fact, I think there should always be space in society for having somebody rewarded for being especially productive. And we call that essentially being rich. But we need to make sure you are not rewarded for just being a sneaky bastard. Patrick Thibodeau says, my family was very religious, but Northern Irish Protestants, so a little different. I grew up in the church, but I am kind of glad I did. I am well equipped to argue with fake Christians. Hell yeah. It's the fake Christians that piss me off, frankly, the most. Because even the people that tried to genuinely, convert me, literally would take a Saturday to talk to me if I said I was willing to talk. With their heart in the right place, I found that we could have conversations. Not always terribly productive, but the intent was there, and that was enough. So I agree. It is the person that's got a Bible that's never once been creased that I worry about. George Bernard Shaw said, Christianity might be a good thing, says Patrick Thibodeau. Christianity might be a good thing if anyone ever tried it. Yeah, I like that. Mars Falcon, Mehdi is going to have Matt Taibbi on. Oh boy. He will dismantle the grifting chud. Yes. I hope, you know what? Here's what excites me so much about that. I hope Mehdi has Sam Cedar on with one of these motherfuckers. If I would have thought about it at the time, I should have live commented. But Mehdi Hassan has the ability to put Sam Cedar in a room with somebody and have him knock mother teeth out. Ooh, there's so many possibilities. I hope they become fast friends. Mehdi is the only show I watch on any major network, any major news network, Sundays at 7 Central. Hell yeah. Patrick, I'm so glad that we're doing this. Did I download it already? I think I downloaded it. All right. Gonna load this up. Stand by, folks. Going into loading mode.
There's Senator Lindsey Graham.
Son of a gun. All right, we're trying again. Going to loading mode. Well, it ain't perfect, but it's a start. All right. Another thing that this hopefully will accomplish, this sheet, is it will make it easy for me to source this later. So I appreciate the work you've done here, sir.
Would you put up Matt Taibbi, my old friend, Matt Taibbi's tweet? His theory is, we'll read it off. If presidents think they'll be chased into jail under thin pretexts as ex-presidents, they'll try even harder never to leave office. This is how autocracies are born.
Okay, I do want to hear Mehdi and Sam just break it down. I'm probably going to leave them alone for the majority of this, but this is an argument that I hear a lot, And I want to point out one thing, and either these fellows will agree with me, or in which case we can just say, oh, look at that, isn't that fun? Or they'll miss it, and I will be glad that I put this in at the beginning. That is possibly the worst reading of what went wrong with Rome I've ever heard. And I hear it all the time. I hear it from some historians that aren't necessarily experts in Rome, but nonetheless talk about it. Here's the logical flaw there. If the idea is that somebody can be punished after they leave office, that makes them not want to leave office. The way to alleviate that is not to not punish them after they leave office, because then what you've gained is that there is no more incentive once they have ever been in office to not commit crime. And the way to alleviate that is to punish them also while they are in office if they break the law. Because then they are not motivated to hold on to that job forever and ever and ever and ever, because that job does not grant them the immunity. That is how you take care of this, not failure to punish. I hope these fellows knock it out of the park. I'm more or less, because I haven't gotten to see this yet. I'm hoping that's what they talk about, but let's see. Whatever it is, baby, it's going to be gold.
So what about the argument that we shouldn't, we shouldn't, good, but go ahead.
So you're being unfair, Sam, because Matt's actually coming on my show next week, so you're forcing me to preempt some of the things.
I didn't realize that. All right, well.
Yeah, Matt didn't like the fact that I've been mocking him on Twitter about his inability to criticize Musk, and he said, why don't you invite me on your show? And then all his followers said, oh, you're a coward, you'll never invite me. He'll never invite you on his show. I invited him on my show, so now they're shifting goalposts, saying, you won't let him speak. But he's coming on. I appreciate Matt. I used to be a massive fan of Matt Taibbi. Matt knows that. I spent much of the 2000s reading his stuff and loving his stuff. He and I have now very different views of the world. But we're going to debate that on the show next week on my Peacock show on Thursday. But just on that tweet, I would say three things. In my book, I say you should always have three arguments. Rule of three. I would say three things very quickly. Number one, thin pretext. How do you know? Have you seen the indictment? Because I haven't. Number two, this will make presidents not leave office. Have you heard something called January the 6th? I can tell you all about it. And number three, this is how autocracies are born. Really? This is how autocracies are born? Not, for example, the governor of Florida banning books and arresting black people who are trying to vote, which Matt really has not said anything about in recent months or years. So I would say those three things, when I read that tweet, those are the three things that jump out at me. It's the idea that there's a thin pretext none of us know. Donald Trump is already trying not to leave office. So that ship already sailed. And autocracy is coming from the Republican Party. Anyone with an eyes and two ears knows that the biggest threat to our democracy in this country is a radicalized Republican Party that's taking inspiration from the Viktor Orbáns of this world and wants to tear down representative democracy. It's only interested in minority rule.
And I will add one more thing here. I just love that in the past, he has made this claim that Twitter being censorious and working with the Biden campaign, taking down Hunter Biden's dick pics that were taken from his laptop and links to those photos on Twitter. It could have changed the trajectory of the 2020 election. Suppressing that information was
suppressing Stormy Daniels.
Right, but the 2016... But the hush money payments for the right before the election in 2016 made right after the Hollywood Access tapes, by the way, which was the sequencing of that is very important to understand. Hey, that's just a thin pretext. We should discard that. Yeah.
Maybe I'll raise it with Matt next week.
I am looking forward to seeing that deployed.
Oh, there's only a little bit left. Let's let it keep going.
I appreciate that Matt Taibbi is coming on the show because there's much to discuss, and I think you'll be surprised to see that we hopefully have a good faith debate.
I find it hard to believe you'll turn this sound on. That's for one. That's why I'm tuning in to see if you actually allow his microphone to work. I'm a little dubious, but we'll see.
I'm not Bill O'Reilly. It's not Bill O'Reilly.
He did do a little bit of that. He definitely cut him off.
So yeah, he didn't discuss what I really, it's an itch I want scratched, which is that argument, which for some reason I keep hearing is so flawed fundamentally. And he was right on everything else. Everything he said was right. I just would like him, I hope certainly when he has Taibbi on, he mentions that. Like if that truly was something you were concerned about, a president being prosecuted after they leave office, causing them to try to hold on to power forever, the real solution there is to prosecute them while they are in office. We need to get rid of that OLC opinion. By the way, because it is not a law, that is an advantage for us who are interested in trying to get rid of it. Means that opinion can be changed tomorrow if there is enough public outcry. This is Friday Peace Talks. We are less focused on the what you can do of it, and more focused on the long term coming to an understanding. But talking to the OLC is the answer. Contacting the OLC and saying, change this opinion. Talking to your representatives and saying, tell them to change this opinion. I'm not comfortable with this. This was not decided in a democratic way. If we truly, truly want this to be how we conduct ourselves, then we better have somebody put their reputation on the line, risk their political career to make it a law. But I do not think that should be a law. And I certainly don't think it should be an opinion, a stupid opinion in my personal take, that we follow any longer. It's an opinion which ought to change. Certainly, I don't think it's an opinion held by the American people. Patrick Thibodeau, great suggestion. Fantastic. Let's see if we got any others on here. Oh, hell yeah. Foxy Dragon. We got little Bo. Oh, no, we got Trey Crowder. Yeah, that's Liberal Redneck. Excellent. All right, I'm downloading this puppy. Christ. Oh, you guys can't hear that. Good. Downloading. It is going to be incredibly loud when you first hear it. So, Foxy Dragon has shared a clip from Trey Crowder, a.k.a. Liberal Redneck, a.k.a. the second person we ever did a Pixel Progressives on. Oh, I just finished one, speaking of, or the main, I didn't do the lip flaps yet, but the main edit for a new Pixel Progressives. And he is talking about Republicans' response to the Trump indictment. Good. We're not a big enough channel yet. By the way, if you enjoy this stream, if you think it's got value, give it a like, give it a subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends so that we can attract a bigger crowd. We don't yet attract a big enough crowd that I have an answer to this question, which is exactly what Trey Crowder is talking about. What conservatives think of the Trump indictment. That makes it seem like I have it already ready to go. I don't. We're setting it up right now. All right. Presumably, we're ready to rock. Here we are. Let's have a listen.
What finally happened, Trump has been indicted by a grand jury for charges related to paying a porn star hush money. Boy, you know all the other rich, old, powerful dudes out there got to be going, wait, we can be arrested for that? That's like one of our main things, though. What's next? You going to tell me we can be arrested for throwing a hooker off a boat? No. But that's kind of the point, right? Is that nobody's above the law. Still, it's a little underwhelming watching him get indicted for that, considering all the other stuff he's done. It's like,
oh, he's telling a joke and I'm ruining the timing. All right. We'll replay. You know what? We'll replay it, the joke, so that we could appreciate it properly. But that does annoy me. I don't truly. First of all, I do think this is an appropriate first thing if we're taking that into account. But I really want to stress this. The order doesn't matter. There should be no consideration of the order. It's weird that it's something people talk about at all. I think it was just news anchors trying to fill time, trying to find a way to wax philosophical about this, but it's irrelevant. Did he break? Did the person do a thing? Was that thing illegal? That's it. The first part, did a person do a thing? That's the investigation, and that's the presentation in court. That's what the whole court case is about. Did the person do the thing? And the end of the court case is the judge deciding, was that thing illegal? So I guess that's not what the whole court case is about. They also debate back and forth, was that thing illegal? But the investigation into the court case, the investigation, and then leading all the way into the court case, did they do a thing? Was it illegal? You do that, or you take those two things into consideration and nothing else. And you have the court case as soon as you possibly can, giving plenty of time for the defense to ready their defense, certainly, giving every advantage you can to the defense, sure, in terms of fairness, but at the end of the day, as soon as that case is ready, you charge it. I do not care about the particular order in which we go. Okay, now because this is more of a fun video, let's just let the man talk.
For throwing a hooker off a boat? No. But that's kind of the point, right? Is that nobody's above the law. Still, it's a little underwhelming watching him get indicted for that, considering all the other stuff he's done. It's like watching the most vicious bully in your high school get in trouble for cheating on a math quiz. You're like, okay, but that guy poisoned our mascot and tried to burn the whole building down. Like, we couldn't do more. But some people are saying, like, no, the other indictments are still coming. It's just they needed the seal to be broken. Right now that this has happened, the floodgates are going to open up. They're all going to follow suit. And you're like, oh, so these DAs are like a bunch of Christians at a wedding in the South eyeing the bar. Or like they all want to tear into it, but nobody wants to be first because they're afraid of what all the mamas and papas are going to think. Okay. Either way, I'm enjoying this one right now. I'm loving all the reactions from the...
All right, I'm cracking up with my somewhat off mic here. Delicious. And for the record, it is just unrelated to politics. This is why every family requires a black sheep. We fill a role. Look, you need somebody who's going to be like, oh, you need the sloppy guy to be the first to take a drink. Here's a reason you invited your old Uncle Jake to the wedding. I'll give you about 3 fingers of Jack Daniels, please and thank you. Because you can't actually say shot at a wedding because of the rules caterers tend to have. Anyway, I'm just saying, appreciate your family's black sheep.
Right. My favorite part about the reaction so far is that they keep insisting that this is actually a good thing for Trump, but they do so while in the middle of a full-on apoplectic meltdown. They're just on Fox News like, I hope liberals realize that we think this is great. We're so happy right now. This is awesome, dude. It's like, really? Because you seem kind of pissed off, buddy. That's weird. But have no self-awareness about how they sound, like always. Like, oh, you thought we loved him before. He's going to be our god after this. It's like, what are you, a bunch of teenage girls trying to piss your dad off by dating a bad boy? Right? Like, yeah, you thought you hated him before. Check out his mug shot. It's like, this ain't a CW episode. It's the White House, you children. Right? And they're always trying to turn the tables on us because they think that we're secretly all like them. You know.
All right. The teenage girls try to piss off their dad thing got me. Yeah, that has been kind of amazing watching that dual reaction of like, this is going to help him. This is going to help him. It's going to be great. Followed by, clearly freaking out about it and preceded by as well. It really does sound like somebody having a crisis and just like working through it out loud, I guess. It's bizarre. Fox is something these days, man. Oh, I really tried to mute the mic for that one. Didn't work out so hot. Fox is really bizarre these days. That talking point in particular just makes no damn sense. And I'm going to bring in a talking point from other conversations around this topic that Fox does not consider here as well, which is that we don't know what he has been indicted for yet. It's weird to say this is going to help him when you don't know that. Obviously, because of Michael Cohen's involvement, we have some idea. But let me tell you, Alvin Bragg is smooth, and this case appears to be RICO suave. I'm not saying that there are indeed a state RICO charge or whatever their version of RICO is at the New York level. But he's talking to more than just Stormy Daniels. We now know Karen McDougal's story is involved in this. David Pecker's involvement was highly looked into. David Pecker did this as like a regular thing for Trump, helping him conceal the payments. If that's a crime, and he did it regularly, and they had like a sort of arrangement where this happened, it's organized. They organized it. They organized this crime they do. That's organized crime. And credit where it is due, it's entirely possible. Remember the multiple streams that have been done where we go through all of Trump's suspected crimes. One of the main concerns is that the statute of limitations has passed on about half of them. Actually, now it's about 2/3 of them. Genuinely concerning. At the federal level, that is not so if they are found to be part of a RICO claim. I really hope, by the way, that Bill Barr, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, all of these folks who abused the system of government that we have go to prison for their involvement in this organized crime. I'm going to go froth a latte and pound that baby, but let's let him continue.
BW episode, it's the White House, you children. Right? And they're always trying to turn the tables on us because they think that we're secretly all like them. You know what I mean? That we're all a bunch of tribalistic idolaters with skeletons in the closet. They're like, don't you realize what this means, Democrats? Now anyone in this country can be indicted for a crime. You're like, oh, you mean like the law says? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not overly worried about being indicted on account of I'm not doing a bunch of crimes all the time. And like, yeah, but your politicians too. This can happen to them now. It's like, yeah, provided they did that shit, in which case, go off. We don't worship these people. If they do it, take them down. We're not like you. Right? But my favorite thing I saw any of them say so far was I saw this Fox News host last night. He goes into this whole thing and he's like, really, right now, while we're so divided as a country, when we should be coming together.
Hold up. Let me play that last part.
Don't worship these people. If they do it, take them down. We're not like you.
We don't worship these people. If they did the crime, take them down. Do you remember when we were reading the Fox comments yesterday? I'll do a quick impression. Here's me. And what that translates to in sober talk is that they were all essentially saying that. Like, not all, but a lot of the comments were people being like, "Oh, get ready. Well, now we can go after Democrats." And it was so much fun to see the responses from people who were presumably Democrats being like, "Yeah, go get them." For sure. I would have loved it if you would have done that. They are so angry that, like, Democrats aren't investigated for what are obvious crimes. They're so angry that Nancy Pelosi isn't investigated, or wasn't investigated, because she fully got away with it now. Her political career ended in triumph. God help us. So angry. He wasn't investigated for corruption. And they imagine that we're not. But no. My friends, we are in agreement here. MAGA, if you're joining us, God, I hope you are. I genuinely. If you have MAGA in your community that like MAGA supporters in your community, or really just anybody outside of the distantly far left area that I tend to hang out in normally, invite them on to Friday Peace Talks, because I want to talk about this. Because if my people committed a crime, by which I mean the people I would tend to vote for, I want their asses caught, indicted, put in cuffs, thrown in prison. I want them treated every bit as brutally as we treat the average arrestee. Now, incidentally, I also don't want the average arrestee treated particularly brutally. I want them denied their freedom if necessary, sure. Incarcerated if necessary because they are a danger to others, sure. But then healed, treated, fixed if possible. And I don't want my politicians immune from that. I do want you guys to catch them. We're in agreement. We both hate those motherfuckers. We both don't trust those motherfuckers. But the thing is, that's kind of what being woke is. Being woke is just the acknowledgement that you shouldn't trust these motherfuckers, even if you vote for them. So I'd like to invite you, MAGA supporters, to be every bit as distrustful of Donald Trump as I am of Joe Biden. I don't trust that mother for an inch. Be distrustful of Donald Trump. He's not your friend. Biden's not my friend. Bernie, I adore. I'm sure we would hate each other's company in person. Yeah, we'd probably bond over our mutual hatred of all things cool. But other than that, like stereotypically cool. But other than that, but it's irrelevant. That's the point. Be distrustful. That's a good thing to be.
Right, but my favorite thing I saw any of them say so far was I saw this Fox News host last night. He goes into this whole thing and he's like, really, right now, while we're so divided as a country, when we should be coming together, this is what the Democrats do. Like, all right, yes, the right wing, the GOP, the party that actively vilifies trans people and drag queens and queer people and poor people and black people and poor black people and Muslims and immigrants and people from the coast and intellectuals and people who read books and people whose brains work and just generally anybody who isn't a straight white Christian conservative. That party, they just want us all to get along, guys. Hey, y'all, back with more in just a second, but I want to let you know that once again, this impassioned screed is brought to you by the good folks at Private Internet Access, the world's most trusted VPN provider.
He was nearly as smooth as the Legal Eagle guy.
No, a VPN basically hides your IP, protect your online privacy.
Christ.
For mentioning limited devices. That's right. I love it. I'm particularly grateful for my PIA VPN.
Good Lord.
Button. Hey, y'all. Hope that ad wasn't too bad for you. I'm back now. I had a couple other stray thoughts about the Trump thing. Another thing that's funny to me is they'll talk about, how he's going to get out of it. They're like, oh, this will be just like the Mueller thing and the Ukraine probe and the 2 impeachments and all the time people on his staff went to jail. And it's like, so at no point in naming this laundry list of top shelf scandals does it ever occur to them like, damn, maybe we need a different guy. Like a guy who doesn't do all that stuff. Maybe that would be better, but it doesn't. Also, I've seen both interpretations of why liberals would mastermind this. They say it's politically motivated, but I've seen them be like, yeah, because they're terrified of Trump. They're trying to take him down. But I've also seen conservatives go, no, this is because they want Trump to win the primary. They know this will, encourage his base and he'll win the primary because they think they could beat him in the general. And it's like, well, which one is it? We're not Thanos. All right, what's our secret plan supposed to be? They're all over the place. They hate the timing. They're like, really? 18 months before an election. It's like, what? Yeah, it was the midterms last year. This is a campaign year. Next year's an election year. It's always.
I always love when I can disagree slightly with a lefty. I don't see the same people making that argument. I don't see the same people. I have seen both those arguments in the wild, but I don't see the same people saying, well, they actually just they're doing this to help Trump. And to be fair, I only saw that once, so not exactly a massive pool of choices. But just like the Democrats are a big tent party, the Republicans are a party that have different, certainly less big tent, but different factions within them and different beliefs. I don't believe that there's plenty of contradictory beliefs held by all Republicans currently. So, all Republican voters, I mean, currently, from what I see. But that is not one of them. Let me make sure I'm being fair to Trey Crowder here. Play that.
We're not Thanos. All right, what's our secret plan?
Motivated
by seeing them be like, yeah, that stuff. Maybe that would be better, but it doesn't. Also, I've seen both interpretations of why liberals would mastermind this. They say it's politically motivated, by seeing them be like, yeah, because they're terrified of Trump. They're trying to take him down. But I've also seen conservatives go, no, this is because they want Trump to win the primary. They know this will.
Yeah, okay. So he doesn't even. I did him dirty there. He doesn't even say it's the same people. My mistake. But he did imply that it's contradictory. And look, we wouldn't hold the left to that standard. We wouldn't hold Democrats to that standard, and I don't think it's fair to hold Republicans to that standard. To believe those two contradictory suspicions of the motivations. More importantly, I think, was before that. Let's give that a little listen. When he's talking about all the people, just give 5 seconds of it.
The two impeachments and all the time people on his staff went to jail. And it's like, so at no point in naming this laundry list of top shelf scandals does it ever occur to them like, damn, maybe we need a different guy.
Exactly. Republican voters, this we got to address. One thing I think he misses here is what we talk about on this channel all the time. They believe all of that is just Democrats trying to harass Trump because that's what they've been told it is. And there has been no proof to the contrary in regards to Trump. We have, unfortunately, those of us who follow these things have not done a sufficient job of showing the reality of the convictions of these people. Cohen and who's that insane cartoon villain that has the tattoo of Nixon on his back? Roger Stone. We have not done a sufficient job of showing that, yes, in a court of law, these things were proven with these folks. But at the end of the day, what's different about this is that it's Trump's turn, and it can't be ignored anymore. And the reason they believe it has just been Democrats trying to harass Trump is because in a court of law, things haven't happened for Trump. Just like we point to the 60 cases, right? God damn it, I hate that rhetorical term. just like the folks on the left, whenever we hear about election misinformation, we go, yeah. What do the courts have to say about it? Oh, you couldn't prove anything because you have no proof because it's a bunch of lies? Okay, well, there it is. That's what the right does for Donald Trump. That's what they feel, and rightly so. If you don't follow this every moment of every day because your life ain't about this, because you've been told there's nothing to worry about, you've been told Trump's got your best interests in heart, and you only watch Fox News because you only watch one news show a week, and you watch about 15 minutes of it. You don't think Donald Trump did anything wrong. And you believe the courts agree with you, because look at how long he's been in public life now. And all the things people say he did. Where's the proof? Where is it? It's important that he's been indicted. It's important that he is going to see legal consequences. And what will change about this is that it will reveal more than just the fact that Trump is a liar. It will reveal that Republican politicians are all liars. Every last one of them. They are liars. Even Liz Cheney. Even Adam Kinzinger. I respect the work they did on the J6 committee so much, but the rest of their political stances are nightmare stuff. And they lie when they give interviews about them. It's just about something people care less about, like dead kids in schools. This case is important because it will reveal that. Get ready for a major cultural shift. And, as I have been hearing now, also talked about on the major cable networks, get ready for a party switch. Number one, we need an all-blue 2024. We got to make that happen, in my opinion. But I also believe it's going to happen. Because the respect for the GOP has evaporated, and rightly so. I'm sorry, folks. And if you're a supporter, I'm sorry. I agree with that respect evaporating. But they're not going to disappear. And in fact, I was talking with my darling sister about this. We were walking around trying to walk off morning sickness. She's got baby number 2 on the way. And side note, my heart broke. Suddenly, my nephew is terrified of me. I haven't seen him in like in person in like 6 months, maybe a little like 4 months, but that is still like a third of his life. And it broke my heart. He's terrified. But I was talking with my sister about this, and ideologically, there's really about this much difference between your standard Democrat, which is center right, and your standard Republican. It comes down I said ideologically. I should say when it comes down to what they vote for. When it comes down to it, no, there's not much difference. It's not going to require much adaptation of the old school Republicans' beliefs to become a Democrat. What I feel the Democrats should watch out for is that the party's beliefs will then shift as well, and they're going to go even a little bit more right. Just something to watch out for. Be prepared to deal with. But as I was saying, it's awesome. It's fascinating to see that talked about now, it looks like, in the mainstream. Folks, remember, we said it here first. It's been a conversation on Wicked for a long time. But I do believe it's coming.
Like a guy who doesn't do all that stuff. Maybe that would be better, but it doesn't. Also, they're just, I've seen both interpretations of why liberals would mastermind this. They say it's politically motivated, but I've seen them be like, yeah, because they're terrified of Trump. They're trying to take him down. But I've also seen conservatives go, no, this is because they want Trump to win the primary. They know this will, encourage his base and he'll win the primary because they think they can beat him in the general. And it's like, well, which one is it? We're not Thanos. All right, what's our secret plan supposed to be? They're all over the place. They hate the timing. They're like, really? 18 months before an election. It's like, what? Yeah, it was the midterms last year. This is a campaign year. Next year's an election year. It's always something. When would you have been okay with it? When ever? Like, it wouldn't have mattered. They'd be like, oh, really? 21 weeks before a special referendum and you do this? Interesting. Like, they were going to say it no matter what. They're doing the same thing with the DA. They're coming after the DA now. They're like, oh, yeah, while shoplifting still happens in Manhattan. It's like, well, what's he supposed to do? Eradicate the concept of crime before this would have been okay with you? They just have no idea what to say. They're flailing. They're grasping at straws, and I'm loving every minute of it. Thank y'all for being here.
Loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it. Yeah, me too. Yeah, fantastic. Guys, y'all are putting some delightful suggestions in. Thank you very much for that suggestion of Trey Crowder, Foxy Dragon. Very much appreciated. I meant to ask you, Foxy, is your name related to TYT? Or did you have that before TYT was doing the dragon thing? Let me know. Next one we're doing is suggested by Patrick Kibido. It's Ring of Fire on what in the indictments could be about. It's been a while since we've had Farron Cousins on the channel. Usually because I have watched a clip of his and thought, that's great, and then forgot to copy the link and then forgot the clip existed until we'd already talked about it. So I'm delighted to be to get an opportunity here to show off a little Ring of Fire. I, by the way, just couldn't recommend Farron Cousins' show enough. He's a really savvy guy. I will say he's bold enough with his opinion, and he's just of that mentality where, just like me, frankly, where they're sure they're right in the moment, and then the next stream they'll be like, correction, I was wrong. So take everything, F it. I was going to say take everything he says and I say with a grain of salt. The mantra, take everything everybody says with a grain of salt. Fact check every motherfucking thing. And if somebody tells you something's impossible, remember they might just be frustrated. Most things are possible. I suspect anything is possible. And Donald Trump taught me that, because Donald Trump somehow became the president of the United States of America. Christ. All right, we're going to start setting this up. Stand by while I do tech things. Loving every minute of it. All right, and it would appear this is going to start with a shout, and I don't know quite yet how to start with the volume down. Maybe I do. Nope. Well, anyway, Farron Cousins, Ring of Fire, talking about how Trump's entire life just got turned upside down and what the indictments could mean.
Nobody likes being wrong. But in this particular instance, I gotta say, I'm glad that I got this one wrong, because yesterday, just hours after I had posted a video saying Alvin Bragg is not gonna indict Trump, he's a coward, it turns out the grand jury did vote to indict Donald Trump. And here's the kicker.
Wait a minute. I missed that first part because I didn't yet have my own volume up. All right, let's listen.
Glad that I got this one wrong because.
Ha ha! Okay, I swear to you, I had not seen this clip before. Don't hold it against him. That, what he's doing right now, calling attention to the fact that he was wrong, that is part of why I love Farron Cousins. More people should do that. We should normalize that as much as possible. Because you don't make progress without being bold, without striving, without reaching for things. And you don't do that without being wrong from time to time. So we shouldn't obsess over perfection, but rather perfect the method we use for dealing with everything. And it's as simple as being honest about when you're wrong, and specifically putting energy, devoting time into pointing out when you were wrong. Good man, Farron Cousins. And by the way, even if it wasn't that specific video that he did, generally speaking, videos like that, calling the DOJ and members of it, calling anybody at any level of our system of justice in America a coward. If you think they're being cowardly, if you think the sheriff is wobbling their legs, I don't know why I actually did that. You can't see it, but wobbling their legs instead of going out and confronting, Mean Joe with or Black Bart. I don't remember the character names from Blazing Saddles, and that's to my shame. But instead of doing that, that's good. That's a good thing. That's pressure put on the DOJ. It's really more valuable to have people directly write them emails. But that is necessary pressure. And we have seen, in fact, F it, we're going into this. We have seen that work very publicly. Case in point, Merrick Garland being absolutely shocked by Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, meaning he didn't know about it before the January 6th committee talked about it. Folks, why did the January 6th committee exist? Because people got put into office who were able to arrange for such a committee. In other words, politicians speaking for the people. Why did those politicians think that was something that needed to happen, that their constituents would want to happen? Because their constituents told them so. When I tell you to write your representative, that's why. When I tell you to write the Department of Justice, that's also why. Put pressure on them. But control your politicians. It is easier to control them when they are from the party you chose, generally speaking, but attempt to control them no matter what. Be part of the pressure that pushes them in the direction that you want them to go, no matter who they are. If Matt Gaetz, God help you, is your representative, that sucks, but nonetheless, write him as though you expect him to work for you, because no matter what that mother says, he is your employee if he is your representative. Treat him like it. Pressure works. The January 6th committee was public pressure. That's all that was. Or rather, it was created because of public pressure. That's all that was. That's what did it. Representatives of the people expressing the people's will, doing an investigation, lighting a fire under Merrick Garland's ass. Without this, there is no reason, there's been no evidence provided to the contrary, that Donald Trump would have been treated any different than Reagan. Let's go in reverse chronological order. Donald Trump, who did an insurrection, there is no evidence that he would have been treated any different than George W. Bush, who lied to us and got us into 2 decades of war, got thousands of Americans killed, specifically 7,000 service members, and we don't know if they were all Americans, but 8,000 contractors working for us. An unknown number of Iraqis killed. That happened to George H.W. Bush. He's not been punished. We could still get that motherfucker. We should go after him. He's not been punished. No reason to believe Donald Trump would have been treated any different. January, we would have found a way to deal with that insurrection, just like we found a way to deal with the fact that George W. Bush lied to us. Just straight up lied to us and got a lot of our sons and daughters killed. Iran-Contra, it was a weapons deal, for God's sake. A weapons deal. An illegal one. Run out of the White House. Treated like it was nothing. Fall guy. A fall guy was the worst that happened. And he barely did any time. No reason to believe the Chennault affair. It would have been any different than the Chennault affair. No reason to believe it would have been any different than that. Extending the lifetime of the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon did. No reason to believe that Donald Trump would face any consequences at all without public pressure. It is that important. Democracy, as they say, is a verb.
As yesterday, just hours after I had posted a video saying Alvin Bragg is not going to indict Trump, he's a
Yeah, so all of that is to compliment Farron Cousins for putting that pressure there in the first place. I would rather err on the side of more than less.
Coward. It turns out the grand jury did vote to indict Donald Trump. And here's the kicker. As far as we know, according to sources close to the investigation reported by CNN, there's more than 30 counts in this sealed indictment. Which means this goes far beyond just a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. See, look at it this way. Even if you had the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels combined with the falsification of business records, at most, you could probably stretch that into 6, 7, maybe 8 different charges if you're really, really clever. You know, obviously, you've got the campaign finance violation, you've got the falsification of records. You could probably throw in a couple different kinds of fraud, possibly wire fraud, bank fraud, maybe tax fraud if you wrote off that legal expense that was actually the reimbursement for the hush money payment. You might be able to grab another 1 or 2 charges off that, but that's about it. So that may account for, let's say, generously 8 charges, right? All right, well, you still got 22 other charges, so what are they?
Ooh, that is a great question. He's going to probably break it down in a way that will be better than I can because he has the professional background to do so. I'm not even going to waste your time with my speculation, but I am going to read a couple comments. The most flattering thing I have read is Foxy Dragon responding to the question about the dragon part of her name. I am part of the TYT Dragon Squad. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That alone, by the way, is increasing the odds that we will have a bright future in the U.S., in my opinion. You're supporting media that has an effect on millions and millions of people. Hell yes. A positive effect. Seriously thinking about changing it to Wicked Foxy Dragon. Woman after my own heart. I will always think of you as a Wicked Foxy Dragon, my friend. Leon Chevalier says, Dragon Squad? Hell yeah. Shout out, says Catherine Wolf, to John Idarola. Yeah, oh my God. That guy is just the best. He is a teddy bear come to life. Catherine Wolf says, like Farron too. Hell yeah. Mars Falcon, good to see you. One of the biggest differentials between left and liberal centrists. Ooh, that's a liberal centrists. I'm going to start using that term. That's a good term. Versus the right wing is that new data can change one's position. Yes, sir. That's it right there. That's the key to it. Catherine Wolf, speak it, Jake. Hell yes, sister. You know I'm gonna. Wireless Mike, hey, I made it before it was over. Hi, all. I'll tell you what, I'm trying to lean into longer streams, particularly on these more free-form days. The reason is I find that I don't want you guys to feel like you're rushed to get to the show. I don't want you to feel bad if you tune in and tune out periodically. And certainly, I want it to feel natural, baby. Sort of a relaxed conversation. I like the way that I like the show that results in. So I think we should do a lot of that. But it's hell for clipping, so I'll try to work out a nuts and bolts way of doing this that doesn't just murder my computer. Conversations for another time. Mars Falcon, greeting Wireless Mike. Yes, indeed. One of the rules we're trying to do today, if we can remember them, is, yes, indeed, greeting people when they arrive, because we are going to hopefully attract us some right-wingers. And if that happens, I want us to be friendly as possible. The reason being, they have rightly, in a lot of ways, undergone a lot of instant criticism the second they show up anywhere. But this is a sort of a salt and bread situation. We've extended the invitation intentionally on Fridays. And I want to be a polite host. I want us all to be polite hosts in the Wicked community. Ooh, Patrick Kibido, I posted one last clip. My favorite segment from Indisputable. I wish a Karen would. Hell yeah. All right, we're gonna watch that. But I really want to tear into this Farron Cousins clip. It's got a couple minutes left. Let's listen to his breakdown of what he thinks the indictments are. I'm gonna be fascinated to find this one out. I'm not sure if my mic picked that up. I'm gonna be fascinated to find out what he has to say.
Now, obviously, there's a ton of speculation at this point because the indictment is still sealed, so we don't know. But if you've got, 22, maybe 25, maybe 28 additional charges not related to Stormy Daniels or the falsification of the business records to hide the reimbursement, then Bragg went big. He went bigger than any of us, especially me, thought he would go. It's likely that he may be going after all of the other business fraud that Pomerantz and Cy Vance were ready to prosecute for last year. As I've repeatedly said, Pomerantz told us those indictments were already written. They were ready to file them, and they never did. So possibly Bragg said, you know what? I'm getting kind of pissed about what's happening. I got these other indictments here. Let's go ahead and throw those in too. That's a possibility. The hush money payment to Karen McDougal, the catch and kill story involving David Pecker, who, by the way, did testify. Those could be in these charges. These charges could span literally every horrible thing that Trump has done in New York. Both hush money payments, the payoff, the catch and kill, the business issues, the fraud that the business was already convicted for. Trump and his kids are having a civil trial later this year. So this is massive. And we won't actually have to wait too long before we find out what these charges are. Donald Trump is expected, take that with a grain of salt, to turn himself in on Tuesday. Now, originally, according to reports out this morning, his defense lawyers said that prosecutors wanted him to turn himself in today. But when he goes and turns himself in, shows up in court for the arraignment, that is when the charges will be read to him. So whenever that happens, if it happens later today, if it happens Tuesday, that's when the world will know what these charges are against Donald Trump.
I saw a lot of people suddenly, now that speculation season is over, a lot of people talking about, even Bo saying like, oh, people are so used to hearing what happens next, and you got to get rid of that because you're not going to hear about it. No. This is actually the time where we won't have to guess about what happens next. We're going to know exactly what happens next. Rachel Maddow did a whole segment. She's like, this could be boring. It might take months and months and months. Yeah, but I think they're all, including Bo even, and Lord knows I'm like a fanboy of Bo of the Fifth Column. But even Bo, I think, missed the key issue. Why was there all that speculation? The question that folks that care about this were trying to answer is, will there be any consequences at all for illegal appearing behavior? That was why there was all that speculation. We're not in the point. They're right. In one point, there isn't going to be, or speculation is pointless now. But it's not because we're going to enter into the unknown zone and we weren't in it before. No. The way every court case works is it begins. All right, not a lawyer, reporter. I'm talking, or former reporter. Talking about it from that perspective and with that experience, there may be exceptions. But every court case I have ever reported on works where you get an arraignment, and at the end of during the arraignment, they list the charges, and then you know the charges. A lot of times you do actually know the charges beforehand, but it's not unusual where you wouldn't. All right, fine. Quick example. If somebody is dead from a gunshot to the head and somebody gets arrested for it, and it's just one person, you basically know the charges. But the point is, at arraignment, they read the charges. And at the end of arraignment, they tell the defendant, as well as the public, what the next court date is and what happens next. And at that court date, at its conclusion, they tell the defendant, as well as the public, when the next step is, and so on and so forth. In other words, from here on out, we will have a timeline. We might not be satisfied with it, but we will know exactly when things are going to happen and if there's a change. For example, if they set the next date for 4 months later, and the defense says, Your Honor, we need, they file something in 2 months saying, look, something's come up. It's even more complicated than we thought. We need more time. And the judge thinks about it and says, okay, you have an extension. They will tell the public that there's been a change in that court date. So in other words, we have indeed left the era of pure speculation, and that's the era we were in. But we weren't, nobody was speculating just for funsies. It was because there was a question of whether or not there would be accountability. And now there is accountability. And it may not be, now the question is it sufficient accountability? Yada, yada, yada. But we will know. The mystery will be gone. We will be informed, as is our right. So rejoice, folks. Even if you believe Donald Trump did nothing wrong, rejoice. Because now you'll have a timeline for shutting guys like me up. You have a gal at your job who's constantly ragging on Trump and you can't stand it. Well, you will know exactly when you'll be able to shut her up with a judgment. Because if you believe Trump did nothing wrong, they're not going to be able to prove otherwise in court because the evidence won't be there according to your beliefs. So, cool. You will have a date where you can shut us all up. Or, what I think is going to happen, you'll have to reassess your opinion of Trump because you will see facts that you were told the direct contradictory story of by Donald Trump. And you'll have to deal with that. But nonetheless, we will have dates for these things. And that is good. A good thing.
And I know a lot of people are thinking, because I've seen it all over social media, obviously it's been a crazy, night. But a lot of people are saying, doesn't matter, by the time he goes to trial, the election will have already happened. Not true. In the state of New York, under their law, the prosecution has to be ready to go to trial within 6 months. That is the right to a speedy trial under New York law. 6 months.
I adore this man because he has tidbits like that. I didn't know that. Let me offer a contradictory point, though, or a point to the contrary. I have about a 90% understanding of the definition of most of the words I use, but not 100%. They have a right, it sounds like he's saying, to a trial within 6 months. Have you ever known Donald Trump to want court proceedings involving him to happen quickly? I believe they can waive that right. I believe they can, in fact, request that there be extensions. In fact, I think that's quite normal. In fact, I think that's quite anticipated. And I think it will be more a matter of does the judge put up with what I suspect are going to be ridiculous requests for extensions. But of course he's going to, I think that's what people are concerned about, that he's going to try to delay beyond the election. Fun fact, though, part of the reason it was so important to get the indictment before 2024 was because there's this garbage opinion right now by the Office of Legal Counsel. And even if you're a right-winger, you should hate this opinion too, because that means right now if Joe Biden took out a meat cleaver and hacked Kamala Harris, his vice president, to death in full view of cameras, couldn't be indicted. Couldn't be indicted for it, according to the Office of Legal Counsel's opinion. You should not want Joe Biden to have that ability. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris is kind of fast on her feet, and Joe Biden's kind of slow on his feet. I think she's safe. But, and that's a wild thing I've said, but the point is you shouldn't want anybody to have that power. But the important reason to get the indictments before 2024 is that now, let's say Trump gets elected while he's undergoing this trial. He stretches this thing out, and the judge is just a total pushover and lets him extend. Even if that happens, my knowledge doesn't mean the judge, while Donald Trump is President Trump, can say, well, it's a shame that you're in the White House right now because guilty. You did it. I'm sentencing you to 3 years prison. It's possible. There's nothing saying it can't happen. Good. If he did it, good. I fully believe that there should be nothing stopping, like a city cop, from knocking on the door to the White House with his partner next to him, holding up a warrant and saying, Mr. President, you have 150 unpaid parking tickets. You're under arrest. I want our president treated literally no different than my next door neighbor. I want no special privileges like that.
That doesn't mean the trial is going to start in 6 months, obviously.
Oh, I cut him off way too goddamn soon. The very next sentence he says doesn't mean it's going to start. Okay, so he's saying it just means the prosecution has to be ready to go in that amount of time. All right, fair enough.
Obviously, Trump's lawyers can try to appeal it. They can try to do all these delay tactics.
Oh, shit.
But we've seen his delay tactics get slapped down repeatedly in the state of New York. I have no reason to suspect these efforts wouldn't go any differently. So we could see a trial this year, but my best guess is probably about 12 months from now is when we would get that trial based on New York law, based on Trump's appeals, based on all the delay tactics. It will happen before the election, that's for sure. It may not happen before the voting starts in the primaries and the caucuses, but either way, this is damaging to Trump, it's damaging to his campaign, it's damaging to the Republican Party. And I know everybody out there is loving every second of this, because I am.
Loving every minute of it. Yes, indeed. Great suggestion. Great suggestion.
And again, it's one of those times where I'm really happy to be wrong. Ring of Fire has fresh content.
Yes, it does. All right, we're gonna go into comments for a moment here. Well, we got another Peace Talk suggestion. I have got a problem right now that I have been wanting to have for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, which is a ton of suggestions for clips to look at. I'm going to look at every single one of them. It might not all be on this stream, but we're going to just keep going with this stream for as long as it feels right. The next up, though, Andrew Woznicki suggests a possible Salty Saturday video, and it looks like, oh, hell yeah. It looks like a British gentleman that I'm a big fan of. It's from James O'Brien. Yeah, we'll probably look at that on Salty Saturday. Great suggestion. Patrick Thibodeau is suggesting a video from Indisputable. And you know what? I think that's a good one for us to do. You guys aren't familiar. Indisputable, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I truly am not sure I'm remembering this correctly, started as a TYT show and it's branched out and become quite a good show on the internet. I'm downloading that now, and while that loads up, which will take all of apparently 10 seconds, let's read some comments. Wireless Mike says, I'm not going to make any guesses until I hear what the actual charges are. I'm just happy it's getting under Rump's skin. Yes. Mars Falcon says, I'm all for educating them. I always try. But some, I am confident, love to spread the hatred. They want the ethno-state. They want those that they disagree with removed from society. Just saying. That's true. Here's something interesting that I might slide your way. I believe it's entirely possible that they believe they want that. That they believe they want some of the more extreme things that they advocate for. But in reality, they don't. For example, in fact, if you look at some of the earlier streams, I was as bad as anybody has been with getting one key thing wrong. And another commenter, Catherine Wolfe herself, says, in fact, I think this is what you guys were talking about. The late, great Michael Brooks said to be ruthless with systems and be kind to individuals. Yeah. Michael Brooks, one of the heroes of this age. He did indeed say that, and I, towards even the beginning of WYCD, I was ruthless with individuals. And it's just setting aside the morality of it, and I don't believe it's moral, but it's not effective. It's like putting a Band-Aid on your bloody clothes as opposed to the wound. It's just not addressing the right thing. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that a lot of these folks that are on the opposite side, and if you're joining us from there, welcome. On the opposite side, who are saying how ruthless they want to be with the individuals on this side, I don't think they've really thought through the implications of what they're saying. And I don't think they've really pictured what it would look like. I particularly don't think they've met, and if I'm wrong, tell me, very many of the people that they say they hate. The number one way you can test yourself to see whether or not you have an informed political opinion and it's an opinion. It can be right or wrong based entirely off how you feel. What's important to know is it informed? And the number one way to test if it's an informed political opinion is if you can go to somebody on the opposite side and express to them what their argument is in a way they agree with. It doesn't mean you have their argument, but it means you can rephrase what they're saying in a way that they say, yes, that is what I'm saying. If you can't do that, then you do not actually have an understanding of what the other person's talking about. If we can get people to start doing that, we're going to get closer to being able to have actual productive conversations. Mars Falcon says, hear you, brother. I am all about rehabilitation. Who a person is today is not who they were 10 years ago. Likely will not be who they are tens of years from now. I guess I smell bad faith on some. True. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying never take the fangs out. You got to deal with the bloody clothes too. But my only point in terms of where our energy goes is that it is not only a bad strategy to only focus on those folks. That is the strategy, getting us to fight each other, of the people who are f***ing with us. When MAGA folks go, uniparty, it's a uniparty, the core of what they're talking about is accurate. And it pisses me off, MAGA folks. You hear me? It pisses me off that you were right about that. But at its core, you were right about that. It's just, in my opinion, you're wrong about what the further intentions are. But Mars Falcon, to your general points earlier in the text thread here, I do think there's value in not letting the other side normalize that insane rhetoric and biting back. Because at the same time, we do have to be like, hey, you're talking about genocide here. I don't care what grift you fell for. You take those words out your mouth right now. Like, there's value in that as well, and that's necessary. Reserve the fangs for those who really deserve it. Yeah, it's nips. We nip the individuals. But for the system, we tear that mother throat out. Death grip with the jaws. For that. Let me load this up. I'm going to bombard you guys with, once again, a very loud beginning to the clip. Haven't yet figured out how to not do that, but it looked like a fascinating clip that got shared, and I want to watch it. It looks like a fun thing. Might be a good way to might be a good way to wrap this up. And as I began giving the intro to, this is Indisputable, which I think started as a TYT show, but I honestly am not quite sure I remember correctly. But regardless, I've been watching Indisputable clips a lot lately because it's always fun.
This Karen tried to cut my client in line at Target.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I want
and
the
back
police
up.
right here now.
And back up. And this is all on video.
All right. Even more. Let's.
Karen tried to cut my client in line at Target.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I want
and
the
back
police
up.
right here now.
And back up.
Yes.
And this is all on video. Exactly, because you thought you were going to get in front of me.
Ha!
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not talking to me.
I am trying to make a return here.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. So why you think you're so entitled? You thought you were going to come and stand in front of me and then I correct you about what you did. You thought you were going to come and get in my face. We're not doing that today.
Face.
You did get in my face. And I got it on video. Stop playing with me. Stop
Nice.
playing with me. I was here first. I
Oh
came
my
the correct
God.
way, like all customers should.
This is the best nonviolent self-defense I have ever seen. This technique of simply pulling out your cell phone, hitting record, and saying, like, all right, let's state what's happening right now. Let's take out the he said, she said of as this goes on, and just let the camera record literally what's happening. That is genius. And I am so, you will always hear me talk positively about the progress of technology. Folks, once upon a time, the most serious threat facing us was that bear in that cave over there. And then Sam Colt took care of it. I mean, technology's amazing. And it allows for things like this. And creative use of it is fantastic. And it doesn't matter if it's a cop or a Karen in line at the store. This is a great way to defend yourself against he said, she said. Like, all right, you know what? This is no different than a cop's body cam. I'm going to tuck that in the front pocket. Just so you know we're on camera. Why don't we hash this out again? It's so good.
She jumped. I'm not talking to you. She jumped in front of me. And this young lady knows she came from this way. And then she said, well, I have a return. Ma'am, I'm already standing right here.
Just get it over with.
Right.
She's giving up.
No,
Bye.
Yes, you did.
Bye-bye.
Now stop playing with me. For real. Last warning, lady. Last warning.
Oh.
$31.59.
Okay.
For the record, my one critique, if you find yourself in a situation like this where it's getting kind of heated, don't say things like that. Don't say last warning. Last warning before what? Before you clock her in the face? No, you already won. She's already given up. Just take the W. But this lady, look, in the heat of the moment, it's real hard to be smooth. It's very hard. So credit to this lady. She nailed it.
You need my card?
Do you want it back on your debit card?
You can give it to me in cash.
Cash?
Yeah. We're done. Can you reset that one? The one, yeah, I put the
You got the right one today.
Hell
you got the
yeah.
right one today. Let's go ahead and dissect what happened here. You see,
and another mustache aficionado. I always wondered who was the other person that ordered that magazine, and there we are.
in the beginning of the video, you clearly see the Karen in question with her hand very close to the individual who proclaims she was breaking in line. And then immediately afterwards, the Karen in question says, I want the police here right now. Wait a minute.
Jesus Christ.
The police?
I completely missed that part. Played the beginning of the clip twice and I missed that part. That, by the way, folks, and MAGA, if you're joining or watching the VOD later, please give me your opinion on this as well. That, I feel, should be treated as a hate crime. Calling the police unnecessarily. Maybe not you know what? I have to muse on that. This is first thoughts. Bear in mind, I may well correct myself later and say I've changed my mind. Right now, I think that should be that. A hate crime. There are a lot of folks that know that the police treat black folks differently. And they use that in the shittiest, most cowardly, despicable way possible, which is to try to scare black people or just get them killed legally by forcing a confrontation with somebody armed. Can you imagine if the situation were reversed and black people weren't killed disproportionately by police officers, and in fact white people were killed disproportionately, and black folks were constantly calling the police on white people in an attempt to get them killed over things like not being allowed to cut in line. When you wonder where riots come from, it's that. I am amazed that we actually have never had a civil war that started with black folks arming up. I'm impressed as well. I'm impressed. And I don't think such a civil war would advance anybody's well-being. But I'm amazed it hasn't happened. Imagine being a black man in 1982, let's say, and experiencing the things daily that we now see happen all the time because cameras are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. If it's 1982, let's say you're 26 years old, and you look on the horizon, you don't see justice. And you look in the past and you see nothing but injustice. And you imagine, what is the rest of my life going to be like? Will I always feel terror when driving my car? Will I always be treated like a second-class citizen? I don't know how we've avoided it. That woman is much more despicable than I thought. And I was going to ask, why is this lady even putting this online? Because I was thinking, she won. She full-on won. All you have to do, you don't have to post the thing. You just have to do the recording as self-defense. And if it works, cool. That can be the end of it. You know, lady stopped cutting. Lady stopped being ridiculous. She was afraid to be on camera because she knew what she was doing. But now I see. That part is key. That she was threatening to call the cops, knowing damn well what the implications of that were. By the way, this was posted apparently by Krishani on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, which I should be, I suppose, follow her. Why the hell not?
You need a gun? Remember, when you call the police, you're calling a gun.
Yep.
What is the issue that has happened where a gun is required? Nothing. You're just being a Karen, okay? But more and more anti-Karens are emerging, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah.
The lady was having absolutely none of it. Well played. All right, Sharon, thoughts here?
I don't want to interrupt Sharon because the only other clip of her I've had on the show, she knocked out of the park. And I kept interrupting at the worst time. So I'm going to let her go unbroken. I do want to say, and we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end. I'll read some comments and maybe we'll talk about this. But here's my answer, by the way, for that. One of the biggest tragedies of the George Floyd era protests, of which, by the way, I risked my career to participate in. And by the way, you should know this, it might have been unethical for me to participate in. I don't know. I literally didn't run it by. There's a person in a news station who you can ask, like, is this ethical? And I didn't run it by them because I was going to do it no matter what. And if I were a truly ethical man, which I strive to be, but I'm a human being, what I would have said is, fuck it. Who cares? I'll risk my pay. I'll get fired if I got to. That should have been the ethical way. But I didn't. And I did participate in those protests. I wasn't reporting on them, but I was reporting. One of the biggest tragedies of them is the phrase defund the police. Not what that was trying to accomplish, but the phrase. Because it took all of that energy that a whole nation was giving and put it towards then a goal that was not only unachievable, but was so vague that there was nothing to achieve. Defund the police. What does that mean? And you have to then ask what it means and get it explained to you. And the problem is it means different things to different people. And I understand, by the way, that was just the thing that was being called for that really caught on. But here is my pitch for defund the police. Here is my pitch for what I would like to see in that vein. All that wind-up is to just say, I'm asking you to find a better way to phrase this than, some of the best political organizers that have ever lived in this country could come up with. So, just do that real quick. There should be unarmed police officers available because you should be able to call the police on someone who is just being a jerk. Not a dangerous jerk, but just a jerk. Let's take that lady that tried to cut in line, for example. Calling the police on this lady. If the operator were to, if she wasn't being filmed, that call went through, and the dispatch person was to take that, and they were to say, is she armed? Is she yada, yada, yada? And they were to establish that this is just an argument in a store. There should be an officer who has the authority that any other police officer has, and they simply have a different set of tools that they use. They are a conflict resolution specialist. And yeah, if they have to, they can put the cuffs on somebody. But you should be, like, if I run into a black guy in the street and he's an a-hole and he does something that I feel requires possibly an arrest or the intervention of the law. Let's just talk about it from a selfish white guy perspective, if that's helpful. I should be able to, there's the pain train for me getting hopefully not canceled. I should be able to call the cops on that guy without worrying that I'm going to get him effing killed over what ultimately is just an argument. Let's say he walks up to me and slaps a lemonade out of my hand and says, "Double bird to you, buddy," and then keeps on walking. That's not worth somebody getting killed over. But also, that's got to be answered. I was enjoying that crisp lemonade on a summer afternoon, and now I don't get it. Let's deal with this in a civilized manner. But I cannot call in good conscience a guy with a gun to come intimidate that guy. That's a massive overreaction. So, what I'm looking for from you, what I'd like to discuss maybe a little bit, is a way to phrase that is more efficient than somebody saying, defund the police. Again, it's not even, honestly, the more I say this, it's not even a criticism of that phrase then in the George Floyd era. Because, people were looking for a way to encapsulate a lot of things. But it's no longer a useful phrase because it doesn't call for specific action. And there is one of many, but there is one specific action that I think we should take. Let me know if you got good ideas for how we could pitch that in a short phrase. What we could call those kinds of officers that we could call for the creation of and the support of. Now, let's hear what this gal has to say.
It's so typical, Dr. Ritchie, because the Karens have a playbook. They need to revise it. They really do at this point. They start cackling, dancing crazy like the Sandman needs to drag them off stage. And then they start howling at the moon. And as soon as you call them a junkyard dog, oh my goodness, you've offended them and you're in the wrong and they did everything right. It's pitiful at this point. And yes, she got the right one today.
Yeah, I thought it was well played. Welcome to Indisputable. I'm the
That's
host,
it?
Dr.
All right, I didn't say his full name once. Here we go. Dr.
Rashad Ritchie.
There we go. Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I have done that poor lady dirty twice now on this show. I will find a lengthy clip of her talking about something and playing it just because I feel bad that that's now twice that she has been on the show and barely been featured. To be fair, I've mostly seen her in support roles on these shows, just commentating. Catherine Wolf says, indeed, the warrior mentality is not always needed. Very rarely, I'm sure. Yeah. And there, when there's a fender bender or something like that, and the people involved need a resolution, they do require that. But there's no, it doesn't have to be physical. Wireless Mike says, police should be trained to de-escalate first, always, anyway. Sadly, that's just not the case now. They are trained to de-escalate. That's a major part of, at least, forgive my Michigan centric outlook, but I've spent a lot of time here in Michigan. That is the training they receive, and it's unfortunately overridden by the training they later receive, which is that everybody's going to kill you all the time. Remember that clip that dang dad did that we played on here? That training overrides it pretty quickly. Mars Falcon says, some folks just want to make lemons out of lemonade. Well done. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Demanding civility after the tables turn, says Mars Falcon. Classic Chuddism. 100%. Patrick Thibodeau says, Sharon hosts the show regularly. Yeah, she does. I just the clips I end up using. I swear I don't have it out for Sharon. I never happen to feature her, and that's my bad. Well, we'll adjust that in the future for sure, because I do like her. Like when I hear her, it's usually on like a day when I'm recovering from a lengthy stream the day before. I'm like, I'm sure I'll come across this again later. It never happens. Y'all, I'm a big fan of Friday Peace Talks. I'm delighted that the sheet works. We can use that. And I really hope that we can get some folks that disagree vehemently with me and you in this chat suggesting clips. Invite someone for next week. Let's make that a goal for next week. Next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll put the correct time zones all across in a post on the community tab later. Invite some folks. Help me out. Get some folks here that will disagree with me. And, be their sponsor. Bring them in. Introduce them even. Say, hey, we're joined by whatever. Or just ask them to say hi. Because I very much want, as fun as this was, and we might, Salty Saturday might just be this, but we agree that we're going to be batches about it, But I really want, on Friday Peace Talks, to have people that disagree with all of us here. There is no better way to make peace than to understand each other. And as always, if I'm wrong, I want to know about it. If I'm doing you dirty by telling you something incorrect, I really want to know about it. So, find somebody. This is what I task you with doing, and I'm going to do it too. In fact, I know a guy that I might just invite on. Specifically, to co-host the show with me for one day, or at least do a talk with me for one day. There's a YouTube channel pretty much in my weight class with subscribers, so I don't feel like I'm going to be pulling them away from whatever to talk about it. Big-time Trump supporter. I'm going to invite them onto the stream. Maybe they'll say yes, maybe they won't, but you have my word, I will send the invitation tonight. Well, tomorrow morning because I got like 12 more minutes left in tonight. But I will send the invitation. You guys, try to find somebody that disagrees, generally speaking, with us. Invite them to the peace talks. And we'll talk about a piece that they want to talk about. In the meantime, I have a beverage to finish. I hope you all enjoyed the peace talks this time around. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. I had a blast hanging out with you today. My name's Jake.